Alright guys, good morning. This is Sean Willard with We Care Plastering. What we're going to do today is we're going to pre-fill. Okay, and the reason why we're going to pre-fill is to save on drying time, to save days on the job. If I coated this stuff that I'm going to pre-fill today before I get that first coat, base coat, flat coat on of finishing mud, if I didn't do this with Sheetrock 90, which dries within 90 minutes, it would coat right over it again, okay? If I didn't do this pre-filling with Sheetrock 90, we'd be waiting probably 2 days for the regular finished compound to dry. So we're going to use Sheetrock 90 and we're going to bring it down just enough that we're going to be able to fill right over it with the finishing compound same day, get everything up to a first coat process, you know, where everything's ready to be pre-sanded and start the finishing coating process on the second day. So let's get her done, all right? First thing we got to do is mix up some Sheetrock 90. So I like to have a nice clean bucket. Pour a little tiny bit of water on the bottom, just so the powder doesn't stick. And then we take this stuff, Sheetrock 90. Paper's best friend, plasterboard's best friend. Concrete filler is better, but unfortunately here in Ontario they don't sell concrete fillers, so it is what it is. Work with what you got, right? We're going to make a nice big batch because we're going to be doing a lot of pre-filling today. Now we're going to add some more water. Different people make it different consistency, texture. I like it nice and lippy, almost to the point of finishing coat mud. So there's no air bubbles in the end, and it's easier to work with. You can get more square footage on it in less time. So just pre-mix it a tiny bit before we take the lid to it. Get the water all worked into it. So let's try getting the whip going. A little bit too whippy, so we'll add a little bit more powder. Alright, we got literally 45 minutes to get this applied onto the wall so it can start drying. Otherwise it'll just dry right in the bucket. So we got our 12-inch application knife and our 14-inch finishing knife. Doing the wide butt joints. The minimalist amount of lips as possible, but still leaving enough of a build up to be able to sand a bit and then finish. mud pan nice and thick. Let's get you some top view. So that one there, you can see it's really, really bad. We're gonna fill it up. And that's it, we'll just let that set up and then we can do our first coat over top of that. We're going to go right over here. You gotta remember, right now we're not trying to make it look pretty, we're just trying to fill the bad sides. some spots that are down like a quarter of an inch, and then there's other spots that are down at least like a half an inch. It's really bad at this point. The house is, it was originally the steel mesh and plaster. So, yeah, different thickness in the drywall that they replaced, right? Not much they can do. They could have shimmed it out a little bit, though, it would have been nice. That's what they do. Paper fixes it, always. I don't complain much. I just get her done. back in. All right, guys, so we got all the sheetrock 90 pre-filling done. And the reason why we do that is, like, literally for the 45 minutes to an hour that it took me to run through and pre-fill all these really bad butt joints first, I've just saved myself probably 2 days worth of drying time had I just used regular finishing compound on it. You see how it's really dark, like gray-brown kind of color? It's almost like a concrete. And it's already starting to set up. I can already go back to where I started, which was right here. I'm gonna go take a quick break, 10-minute break, you know, hang out for 10 minutes, have a drink. And then I'm gonna come back in and start loading right over that with the finishing mud, which is that white mud right there. You do not want this to show through on your final sanding, otherwise you'll have flashes all over the place when you paint. So you do have to know what you're doing when you're using this 90. So the way I've filled it is I've underfilled it just a tiny bit because this particular compound is made so it actually expands as it dries. It doesn't shrink, it expands. So I've underfilled it just a tiny bit to allow it to expand, and then I can go back as it's complete, like not completely dry, but almost dry. You see these lips here? I can scrape those off, and the bubbles, the air bubbles that are popping down, scrape those off, and I can mud right over and complete my first coat of finishing compound to get everything ready for a pre-sand and then finish coat. There's a lot of patches. I like to hit those because they're all deep fills. I like to hit them all with the sheetrock first before I go mudding them, and then we'll go back and we'll mix up some first coat, finishing coat mud, and hit over that before the end of the day. Same thing, all these little patches, they're all touched up with the sheetrock real quick. So it's all gonna pop out and stuff by the time I get to this, because this is one of the last things I coated. It'll be one of the last things I coat with the regular skim, with the regular finishing mud. So by the time I get here, it'll be set up enough that I could scrape the pop out off, and then I can coat right over it, throw the fan around here and leave it to dry. That's all sheetrock 90 in there. It was really yucky. It's lath and plaster. They didn't stick a piece of drywall in there, and I don't even have a screw gun on me. So, and it's getting covered with cupboards. They just wanted it filled. I'm gonna leave that to dry. It's gonna dry hard as a rock. I'll push it back in and then coat over it, tape it and coat over it again. And down there, same thing, hit it with sheetrock. So that's it, guys. It took me an hour to pre-fill all this, and like I said, it literally probably saved me 2 days drying time. I missed one up there, but I'm out of sheetrock, so I'll have to hit that first thing with regular mud. Alright, so we're going to start the first coat with the finish mud process. Get the 14-inch knife going. So there's the least amount of lips as possible. Makes less sanding on the greaser. Really nice, easy lip. Just dump this on everything. Hit all the joints that don't have 90 on them. We're going to leave the 90 ones to the very end, just to give them a chance to set up a little bit more. There's only a couple more joints, and we're probably going to go take a little quick break, and then come back and finish it off. Hello. Always. When I'm sanding, I keep tapping it and it jerks it, and it's making it die on me.
Alright.
It's like the what, third one right now?
Yeah, I only got one.
I'm trying not to hit it.
I only got one of these all at once. Fly goes anymore. Crazy.
I switched my house all over to LED.
Yeah, well, the LED's expensive, and we
They're expensive,
keep
but
breaking them, so I don't want to spend the money.
Oh, yeah. When it's finished,
Yeah, when it's
Wait till I leave. Yeah.
Alright, so you see some of the sticky notes come off?
Yeah, I got it all. I already was expecting to do that. I wanted to wait until I whipped up the
So I
sheet
didn't know,
up.
like, did they be doing board meetings for this, or you
Yeah,
just
I got one of the others.
Perfect. Yeah, I didn't know if you had any or not.
No, I had some pieces left.
Yeah, I got some pretty found them all.
Oh yeah. I already knew where they all were. It was pointless going yesterday because I didn't have sheetrock whipped up yet, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I could whip up only a little bit for that. It's better off just whip the whole bucket and get it all done in one shot.
Nail holes around too, if you can see them still in it too, where we're gonna need stuff when I'm done.
All right, so here we are, day 4. So all these ceilings are finished sanded except for the angle. I wanted to straighten out a little bit more so you can see it's a little bit wet there. I just skimmed the one side of the angles all the way around. But all this is all finished sanded, ready for primer as soon as I brush these angles out once they're done drying. See there, it's wet. Same thing, it's wet. So just the angles left to sand on here. Got to sand the round out. Clean these angles up. Walls are all done. Walls are done. Ceiling's all sanded. Just gotta sponge the angles out once those angles dry. This angle I'm not gonna touch, so this whole top angle, until this whole wall is finished coated. So everything is flat now. This section is all done. Now it's just a matter of working on this section until it's all done. So everything is first coated and flat. This morning we pre-filled all of that with sheetrock 90, and now it's got 2 more skims of regular finishing mud over top of it. Pre-filled with sheetrock 90, 1 good skim, pre-filled, 1 good skim, pre-filled, and 1 good skim. Same thing all the way around here. Same thing there, pre-filled, another good skim over top. Cleaned up the corner beads so they're all sandable and then skimmable from there.
They weren't completely dry from yesterday, so I couldn't pre-sand them today and skim them out, otherwise I would have. So we just cleaned up some stuff, just made it straighter, flatter. Makes it easier for pre-sand and easier for finish coat. That was that big indented square up there in the corner. Must have been 3/4 of an inch. Same thing here, must have been 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch difference all the way around. So pre-filled it all with sheetrock 90, and then now I've hit it again, loaded it right up with finishing compound. This here looks really rough. There's a big lip on this side, but I had to do that to be able to build it over the tape. So now it's built over the tape. Tomorrow I'll just skim it tight the way it is, and then it'll be ready for finish coat the next day. Maybe even later that day actually, if I throw the fan under it right away. So same thing here, beaded, pre-filled with 90, taped. That was our tape yesterday, pre-filled with 90 and then skimmed over with regular finishing compound. Pre-filled with 90, taped over with regular, or mudded over with regular finishing compound, same thing there. Same thing with all these spots, pre-filled with sheetrock 90 this morning. I taped them with mesh tape, pre-filled them with sheetrock, let it set up, come back, and then hit it again with regular finishing compound. A couple little things in the bathroom here, same thing, mesh tape, pre-filled with sheetrock 90, and then came back over with regular finishing compound. That was really ugly. I'm gonna let that dry overnight, and then I'm just gonna scrape it off and then skim right over it tomorrow. Got these beads second coated. So they're all nice and cleaned up now, ready for pre-sand and then the final skim coat. And then that down there has another coat of finishing mud over top of it. It was taped with, it was a hole taped with mesh tape, pre-filled with 90, sheetrock 90, and then skimmed over with regular finishing compound. And then there was a little spot in the closet there. I'll get that again tomorrow. So that's it. It's looking pretty good. It's all flat now and it's all ready for pre-sand and start the skim it finish coating process tomorrow. So it'll probably take me about an hour to pre-sand this guy out, maybe an hour and a half by myself tomorrow. And then I'll just start skimming all day. So I'm glad I got that sanded today while I was waiting for the sheetrock to dry. I had nothing to do, so I figured I may as well finish sanding this guy, the whole surface, and then I just got to worry about the angles. So that's it. It's looking good. Got her all sweeped out in here. Tomorrow I'll give it a scrape, another sweep, clean it right up, and then sand those angles out and give it a final sweep. This area is done, and then we'll just be working on that side until Saturday. It is now Wednesday. Got a little tape bubble there, but because it's still wet, I'm just going to leave it till tomorrow when it dries. I'll cut it out. I'll mesh tape it, pre-fill it with some 90, fix it up, and then skim right over it, get it back to where it's supposed to be. Those beads were really rough, so they're looking clean now. So that's it. We care professional plastering services. We really care, and it shows in our work. When you love what you do, you never work another day in your life.